building authority June 24th. So now the council purchase agreement, basically the same proposal as was originally agreed to with JRD. The timeline's a little bit different. Neal Silver's here to address any questions as they work on the write-up of the agreement. So
you know we started. I have summaries. I don't know that some people that are typically got them, but I tried to summarize the bullet points.
This is about the sports plex?
Yes. Maybe I want to know that.
Yeah, she is. She's just stuck in traffic.
I'll use hers then.
Oh, so I got sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Essentially, as the mayor indicated, the parameters are pretty close to the prior purchase agreement with JRV. Obviously, there are some main differences. One is the purchase price is 5.4, but and almost just as important is there is no financing contingency based on this one. There is only a short 60-day due diligence period. There are still the same. There's no management agreements this time that we have to, we're currently managing the facility at the present time, so it would be a clean ending. The date of sale, they would have to take over.
Well, excuse me, what was the purchase price for Jeremy?
JRV, I think was it 6?
6.9, right?
6.
Six?
Yeah.
6.
I thought it was getting. I know I'm getting old, but that's what I recall too. It was 6, and if you recall, he was going for SBA financing, and he got an appraisal, and the appraisal came back, I think, for a total of 5 point something, but 4.8 or something on the land, and a couple $100,000 on the equipment. This is an as-is purchase, whereas with all faults, he's got 60 days to get in and do his due diligence. After that, we go to closing. The same type of restrictions with respect to the extra acreage. We're deeding it to him for $1 with the right of reverter. The property comes back to us if he fails to get a major hotel flag satisfactory to us. Building permits within so many months, I think it's 24 months, and then to actually have sticks and bricks in the ground by 36 months. Those would be triggers, and he cannot encumber the real estate until such time as he actually has pulled the permit, signed his flag agreement, and has his financing in place. Other than that, it really is standard. I mean, it's basically subject to your approval, and it's subject to what we learned in between, and while we're trying to pull the land together, and we had the other one. There are those cell towers that are on the property. They have a right of first refusal to any time we try to sell the property, and so this time I baked in, now that I saw that when we pulled title that they actually had a right of first refusal, I've made it subject to, obviously, their declination of the right of first refusal. If there's any other questions, if you go through this, I'd be glad to answer them.
So can you explain that? I'm not clear.
Yeah.
So that means the tower is, they don't have to take, because we have that right now, right?
Right now, we own the land on which the tower sits.
Right, so we get
We-
paid something for that,
I
right?
think you capitalized it out. I don't
Oh.
know that you're actually getting payments anymore. I think that if I was not part of this, but my recollection when I went through this the first time is you took a large payment in front in lieu of
Yeah.
annual payments going forward. I think at some point when that lease terminates, they would have to renegotiate, what the rental rate for that
Okay.
would be again.
Thank you.
But
Do we have any idea when the lease is up?
I do. I did not bring the lease with me this time, but I do have a copy of it, and I can certainly let you know that. But it's not soon. It was like a 25-year lease. There was probably 5 or 6 years into it. Would you know better the lease for the cell towers? I think it goes out a long way.
I didn't think they paid us, maybe I'm mistaken, I didn't think they paid us for the full 25 years. for this, I don't believe they paid us for the full lease term on the bill.
And they may not have, I was not part of,
Is there any way we can find out?
Well, I thought, were they part of the sale? But we just own the property still, they own the tower.
Who
Yes.
owns the tower?
They, that was part of the cell tower sale. That
Yeah,
was
they
done
own the
in
metal.
2008.
they have a leasehold interest to keep the metal there. At the end of the lease, they have to.
What do you mean the people who put it up?
Yeah,
Okay, but I'm talking about, they give you so much money when you put it on your property,
right.
and they used to give us so much per year.
Correct.
We had several different places.
Mhm.
So what I'm asking is, do they pay us out for whatever the lease time was for that property already? Or all of it? Do you remember how much it was?
I don't know, 2.3 million or something like that, and what it was, I think the concept was that we took the cash up front because
Oh, okay.
the vision was that the technology would be outdated, and on the backside of those lease agreements, you'd be getting nothing.
Right.
So I don't recall the details, but
Just
it
trying to remember if they
was
paid
like
us out.
2.3 million, and it was cash.
Trying to get some money, I mean, you know, I'm trying to get those.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think that's all those leases have been paid up front.
Thanks.
Neil, I haven't read this yet, I think.
Yeah, I'll
this
ask him,
came over a few minutes ago.
give me anything you got.
You mentioned the appraisal, is it in here, or is there?
No, this is not, this is like the other one, it is not subject to.
But it was appraised, though.
It was appraised, when JRV went to go get his bank financing, he applied for an SBA loan. And pursuant to federal regulations, whenever you apply for a real estate-based loan, the bank orders an appraisal, and it must be an independent appraiser, hired by the bank for the use by the bank. And I think that he came back to us trying to renegotiate based upon what the bank's appraisal was, and so we became aware of what the appraised value was, based on that.
But he never gave us a copy of it.
Do we have a copy?
I have got rid of this.
Was that like 4 point something?
Was asked not to be distributed by the bank because it wasn't his appraisal either, it was the bank's appraisal. So,
So we're not supposed to talk about it.
if you recall, when we did the sale agreement, he made it available for anybody that wanted to come to his offices and do it, because that was within his right to kind of.
Yeah. Unfortunately, though, that came with a whole bunch of other
Yes.
information when you went to review it.
So the administrator, he said the bank knows you have it, but they do not want the council to see it, is what they're saying.
No,
I don't think,
it
I
wasn't,
not
it wasn't,
distributed.
it wasn't really intended for the administration either.
But you
We
have
shared
it.
it.
This portion, 6,
Mhm.
current booked events to be assumed by purchaser, management agrees in effect assumed by purchaser, continued no cost use of pylon sign.
You want me to put that in English rather than bullets?
Well, no, I'm just saying like, so current events. for
Anything that's currently
events.
booked,
But,
he would-
okay, booked and already paid, like we had an issue with the previous guy where he booked a bunch of things, people paid him, then he walked. And we had to keep running them without the money, so are we doing that? I mean, what do we do?
if we booked it, if, I don't believe, do we have cash on hand for free?
Yeah. We do not have any unpaid balances right now or any prepayments. Everything has been collected for the end of the year because we looked at our end of the year is July. We get going August 1st, start building ice for the next season and start registering soccer teams. So there is nothing out there.
So everything's been performed that was paid
Correct.
for and, okay.
Correct.
Just wondered.
We
Yeah,
don't,
and
we're not holding any deposits that I know of.
And once we sign this, our obligation is just to basically just let him know that we're booking a new event. He doesn't have the right to say no, but we're just gonna keep him informed, so in case he does need to be informed, when he.
Basically, all of those leagues, then basically we gave them free time, we got nothing out of it.
At the beginning of the year.
Yes, right.
Third session,
Do you have
second
any idea,
session.
any idea what that amount was?
The best of my guesstimate, number of teams times the number of what they have paid him directly online to his bank account was a tune of about $100,000.
Thank you.
They're gonna reimburse the money for the turf?
Yes.
That's great. We should
That was determined, Jeff and his folks over there were sitting down, looking at the contracts with the soccer folks. The soccer leagues that basically advises us if the new turf wasn't going in, that they'd be looking elsewhere. We knew, Tim had already approved it, his council's approved it, and we contacted him, requested, if he wanted to do it, maybe he would purchase it, and then we, if it didn't close, then we reimburse him. He suggested the other way around, had Neal put it in writing there, so we signed off on that.
And those soccer teams and all that, are they gonna be okay that they're all, I mean, not that we would have a say necessarily, but do we have any assurances that it stays a community recreation type center there? Like with, because obviously, I know soccer depends on that.
I can, my understanding is, and again, we're not tying him to any future use. All he's saying is that after closing, so long as it's being used for the same purpose, it will be called the Taylor Sports Plex. But my understanding and why I drafted the purchase agreement the way that I did is that he's doing this as part of a development that he plans on putting we're requiring him to put a hotel conference center on the adjacent vacant land. He's fine with that because my belief is that he's going to then capitalize on having, the sporting events that people bring their kids, you know what I mean, the travel teams come play there and the parents stay in the hotel, for the event.
And the other addendum to that is not just, we talked about hotel and a restaurant, but this is also 15,000.
Plus retail, there is, but I'm just saying that, yeah, what I guess I was trying to, the thought that it would be the continued use would be the fact that why would you put a hotel conference center on land adjacent to it if your intent wasn't to capitalize off of the.
As well as I believe there's still intent for them to put on the air supported structure on the back side of it for full-size soccer.